Hello class, this is a quick video on how to do a uniform distribution problem. And so in this particular example, we have a continuous random variable that has values that are spread evenly from 2 to 4. And so that spread evenly is kind of a key word to tell me that this is going to be a uniform distribution, which means that the probabilities for this particular random variable are all equal to one another. And so they have an equal chance of happening, and it's from 2 to 4. And so this is what's called a density curve. And so it's really not a curve here because it kind of looks like a box. But next week we're going to be learning about normal distributions, and so it'll be a little bit it'll be more of a curve. And so this is important to understand what kind of this means. And so let's say we want to find the probability of our random variable being between or being below 3. So what is the probability that x is actually less than 3? Well, there's a couple ways that you can do this, and it might seem just kind of intuitive. Well, if x is less than 3, if we write in 3 here, we could actually just kind of say, oh, okay, well, that looks like that's just equal to 1/2, right? It's about half of the area. It actually is exactly half of the area. So that's one way that we could do this particular problem. However, maybe we're not going to be able to eyeball it as much. Suppose I want to know what is the probability of x less than 2.5. So here's a different question. Well, let's go ahead and erase what we did before. Get rid of this stuff, okay? And now we want to know draw my bottom again. Now we want to know the area that's below 2.5. Okay, well, there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can simply just kind of think of this as a box. And so we can say, well, we know that the height, based on what I told you in the slides and based on the fact that this is a uniform distribution, the height of this box is 1 over the upper bound of 4 minus my lower bound of 2. So that is the same as then 1/2, right? Because that's 1 over 4 minus 2, so that's equal to 1/2. So that's the height of this particular box. Now, if we want to find this particular area that's in between then 2 and 2.5, we can simply notice that between 2 and 2.5, this length of this box is also equal to 0.5 or 1/2. And so to find then this area, we simply then just multiply its width, 1/2, times its height. And we will then get that area under the curve, which is obviously equal to 1/4. Okay, so there's a couple of ways that you can use the uniform distribution. Now let's do one more example. So here we have, let's erase the others really quick. So get rid of this stuff. Suppose I have an interval that I'm curious about. And so I want to know then got a little hasty there with my erasing, didn't I? Okay, I want to know the area between two things. So I want to know the probability of my x being between 3 and 3.5. Okay, well, I can find that pretty easily too. Basically, I know that 3 is kind of here, and then I could draw in 3.5 kind of there, draw in 2 little lines, and it doesn't have to be beautiful. It just, you know, just so you get kind of the general idea. Then I know what is the difference between 3 and 3.5. Well, again, that's going to be 1/2. And so that's going to be my length. And again, then my height of my box is just 1/2. That's the 1 over the 4 minus 2. And then I simply just do the same thing. So the probability of getting a random or getting a value of x from this particular random variable that's between 3 and 3.5 is simply just 1/2 my height times 1/2 my width. Again, 1/4. Okay. So what would happen if we change this from 2 to 6 and then, or maybe how about we do 1 to 6? What would be different about this particular distribution? Well, now instead of our random variable being spread evenly over 2 to 4, our random variable is going to be spread evenly from 1 to 6. So we've got to actually get rid of all of this because now we have a different distribution. And so you'll see how this then changes how we might do this particular problem. So we come back, get the pens. Once again, we have a box, but now it starts at 1 and it goes all the way up to 6. Now what is the height of our box? This would be 1 over 6 minus 1, which is equal to 1/5. And so if we want to know the probability of our random variable x being less than, let's say 2, we would simply say, okay, well 2 is right here. What is then the difference between 1 and 2? 1, right? So this is then the width. And we'd multiply that by our height. So 1/5 times 1 is just equal to then 1/5. So the probability of obtaining a value that is less than 2 from this particular random variable is 1/5. Hopefully this video helped you understand how to do a uniform distribution problem a little bit better.